Yeah. So, what is your difference? Because I'm going to let you go. We got about 5 minutes left. But how has your understanding of Catholicism itself? Because you grew up in an Anglican tradition. I'm sure you
Yeah.
had your prejudices against the Catholic faith.
I completely
and the Catholic
did. I
Church.
remember the first time I went to Rome, and I saw a cardinal, and my assumption was he was off to poison a nunnery. So I kind of
You
grown up.
might not have been so wrong there.
Well, maybe not. So my wife was baptized Catholic, and then her parents were so appalled at the idea of original sin, because it was the 60s when everyone was going against the idea of original sin, that they spectacularly lost their faith in the way that Catholics often seem to. And then my wife's mother died, and I think she wanted to get in touch with with her mother and what had made her mother, because her mother had been very devoutly Catholic. And so she started going to church, and the local church was a Jesuit church. And I,
the Jesuits, right?
I was sufficiently steeped in Tudor propaganda to know that they did no good and just wanted to poison Queen Elizabeth and all that kind of thing. And I found that they were wonderful. They were completely inspirational, kind of brilliantly, dazzlingly pastoral and intellectual figures. So I really enjoyed getting to know them. And also the parish priest, Father Tom Hennigan, and I name him so that perhaps your listeners could keep him in their prayers, was the holiest person I'd ever met. He was a wonderful, wonderful man, kind, compassionate. I mean, he was just wonderful, and died of a heart attack about 7 years ago. And at his wake, everybody went and thought that they had been particularly special to him, and discovered that they'd all been special to him.
Yeah.
And the parish that he ran is a part of Brixton, which is a kind of inner city area with people from every corner of the world. So it was properly Catholic. So there were, people from the uppermost elites, and there were people who had been slaves in the Sudan and Eritrea. So, I mean, all humanity was there, and he was loved by all of them. So that kind of instinctive English Protestant suspicion of Catholicism, which I realize I had absolutely inherited, has gone. And the experience then of writing Dominion and appreciating just how much all of us in the West owe to the achievements of Catholic saints, philosophers, teachers, jurists, whatever, has only reinforced that.
Yeah, I think what I found was I find the first several chapters of your book to be a Catholic apologetic. Like I really do. I really do.
So I would say that there has criticism from lots of Catholic readers has been that it's very recognizably a Protestant book, and I wouldn't deny that. I mean, I think it is
yeah. Well, you're going to go into it with a you can't help your upbringing, right? But I still saw it as a Catholic apologetic, as really showing how the Catholic Church was really unified, and there wasn't these. I mean, as a Catholic, I really did love this book. And the one thing I do have to say is, as I'm reading the chapter on Luther, it's very funny because you know the end of the story. But as Luther is getting summoned to Rome to speak with Cajetan, I'm still in my heart hoping against hope that maybe Cajetan can convert Luther. And it's I'm like, come on, you can do this. It's such a strange thing to read a story where you already know the conclusion of, and you're still hoping against hope against it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do think that you could imagine ways in which Luther might have been reconciled.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
there were a lot of powers
he was
and
on to issues that perhaps
needed to be addressed.
And under different circumstances could have been resolved.
Yeah. Well, Tom, I can't listen. I know I can't thank you enough. I'm so grateful. When you actually first had to cancel our interview, and you said, something came up on Monday, and I'm not kidding. It felt like a death in the family. I was grieving.
I
So
had to
when you
console
sorry.
him.
I'm really
No,
sorry
when
about that. I'm off to that great powerhouse of Protestantism, Amsterdam, to do this.
So listen, when you told me you could reschedule for Saturday, I was so beyond grateful. You were really I know we have nothing to offer you. We're a small channel, but hopefully your treasure in heaven is you get a little reward of treasure in
You're
heaven
very
for
sweet. You're very
recognizing
kind.
this small, tiny channel
Very
like
kind.
us. But Tom, seriously, I really do think you're a wonderful thinker. I really love hearing all of the talks that you've given, and also Tom hosts a podcast called "The Rest Is History" with a friend of his, Brian. What's his last name?
Dominic Sambrook.
Dominic.
Oh, Dominic. I'm sorry.
Where'd Brian come from?
I might call him
Dominic. So
Brian.
please, guys, go check out The Rest Is History. Read Dominion. I'm going to actually go back and read the book that you spoke about with the origins of Islam. Tom, really, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for giving us your time. You're really
Absolute pleasure.